Hello, and welcome to Autism Education for Foster Families, brought to you by the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma. The role of the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma is to enhance the capacity of systems, individuals, and communities across the state so they may effectively serve Oklahomans with autism spectrum disorder and their families. This is accomplished through increased awareness and understanding, training, advocacy, and research and program development. This training is brought to you in part by the Sarkeys Foundation. My name is Kelly Marshall, and I am your speaker for today. I am the program officer for children and youth at the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma, and I have spent most of my almost or over 2-decade career working with children and families with developmental disabilities. My primary focus has been in the areas of functional communication, use of augmentative and alternative communication devices, social skill development, and supporting home programming. These days, I spend more time conducting trainings and doing consultations for schools and childcare settings and with parents and other healthcare professionals. If you don't find me doing these things, then you find me at home with my 2 girls, either in the volleyball gym or trying to sell some Girl Scout cookies. At the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma, we have 4 core program areas, the first being advocacy and awareness. We are dedicated to making Oklahoma a more inclusive, autism-friendly state through intentional and engaging advocacy and community outreach. The next is the area of which I am the program officer, and that is children and youth. Within this program, we support the development and well-being of children and youth with autism. Next is health and safety. Our health equity program addresses the unique barriers that autistic individuals face in traditional healthcare settings. And finally, transition and employment. This program provides training in several areas, including workplace neurodiversity, autism-friendly business, and justice system reform. We're going to walk through some important topics that will help you better understand autism and how to support your child in meaningful, practical ways. First, we'll talk about the identification of autism and characteristics of children with autism. You'll learn what autism can look like in children, including how they might communicate, play, interact with others, and experience the world. Every child is unique, and understanding these differences can help us meet them where they are. Next, we'll take a look at neurodiversity and self-determination. These may be new terms for some of you, but they are really powerful. We'll explore what it means to view autism not as something that needs to be fixed, but as a natural variation in how people think and experience the world. We'll also talk about how you can support your child's ability to make choices, express themselves, and build confidence in who they are. We will also talk about autism and trauma, since the presentation of these two can be similar and often confusing. Then we'll move into 5 tips for supporting your child at home. These are practical, everyday strategies you can use to build routines, encourage communication, and create a more predictable, supportive environment for your child and for you too. Finally, we'll wrap up with resources, because you don't have to do this alone. I'll share some helpful websites, organizations, and community services that offer support, information, and connections for families like yours. I also want to show you a tool we've created just for you. It's called Padlet. Padlet is an online space where we've gathered all the resources from today's training and a lot more. You'll find handouts, videos, links to community supports, and examples you can use right away with the children in your care. It's easy to use. Think of it like a bulletin board you can visit anytime. You can scroll through, click on links, and even save or print what's most helpful for you. Our goal is to make sure you leave here with a connection to resources, guidance, and community long after today's session ends. Now we're going to spend some time talking about the identification of autism. When we use the word identification, we're really talking about the process of noticing differences, asking questions, and connecting children to supports. It's not a label meant to limit a child. It's a way of opening doors to services, resources, and understanding. For parents and foster parents, this can sometimes feel confusing because there are actually 2 different paths. One is the medical process, and the other is the educational process. Each one looks a little different, and both can be important depending on the child's needs. In this section, I'll walk you through what each process looks like, how they compare, and why they sometimes lead to different results. Remember, the goal of any identification is not to change who a child is. It's to better understand their strengths and challenges so we can give them the right kind of support to thrive. As we begin to explore what autism is, it's important to understand that autism is a lifelong brain-based condition. That means it's something a person is born with, and it affects how their brain processes information, communicates, and experiences the world. Autism is not something a person outgrows, and it's not caused by parenting. It's a part of how someone's brain works, and it shapes how they interact with others, how they learn, and how they respond to their environment. One of the key things to know about autism is that it exists on a spectrum, which means there's a wide range of abilities. Some autistic children may speak fluently, while others communicate in different ways, like gestures or using pictures or devices. Some may need a lot of support, while others may be very independent in certain areas but need help in others. Every autistic person is unique, and their strengths and challenges may change over time. That's why it's so important to learn about your child as an individual, not just through a diagnosis. Understanding autism as a lifelong and brain-based condition helps us shift from trying to fix a child to focusing on how we can support them and build on their strengths and help them thrive in their own way. Many factors can contribute to the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorders. Some potential risk factors found in the literature include genetics. It has been found that if one individual in a family has autism, there is a higher risk that another individual will also have the disorder. Prematurity. Babies that are born very early or premature are at a higher risk for all developmental disabilities. Autism is one of these. Certain medications during pregnancy can also contribute to a later diagnosis of autism. Most doctors will discuss these risks with the expectant mother during pregnancy. Children of older parents. The advanced parental age of either the mother or the father can also be a risk factor for autism. And finally, time between pregnancies. Less than 1 year between births or more than 5 years between births can also be a potential risk factor. This graphic shows how the reported prevalence of autism has changed over time. You'll notice that decades ago, autism was thought to be very rare. Studies in the mid-1900s estimated maybe 1 in every 2,000 children. But as time went on, the numbers began to shift. By the 1980s, autism was added to the DSM, which is the manual professionals use for diagnosis. At first, the criteria was very limited, so many children were overlooked. In the 1990s, the criteria was broadened to include more of the spectrum, such as Asperger's and PDD. So naturally, more children qualified for the diagnosis. In the 2000s, screening tools like the MChat made it easier to identify children earlier. Schools also began recognizing autism under special education law, which meant more children could access supports. By 2013, the DSM-5 made it possible for a child to have both ADHD and autism, which again opened doors for many who had been missed before. Today, prevalence is reported around 1 in 31 children. That's a big shift from the early days. Some people wonder, does this mean autism is happening more often? There are many theories, but most experts believe the increase is due to better awareness, improved screening, changes in diagnostic criteria, and more families seeking evaluations. There isn't one single answer, but what's clear is that autism has always been present in our communities. We're just getting better at recognizing it. For foster parents, this matters because it means that many children who come into your homes may have differences that weren't understood or supported before. Your role in noticing and supporting those differences is incredibly valuable. Once a concern about autism is noticed by the caregiver and discussed with a physician, the process of identification can begin. This is not a clear and simple process, as there are no medical lab tests that can be drawn to identify autism at this time. Clinicians observe the child's behavior across environments. They then collect critical information from the child's medical and developmental history. And finally, they conduct formal assessments. This collection of information together leads to a diagnosis of autism. As I said in the beginning of the training, characteristics of autism appear very early in development. Children with autism can now be accurately identified with autism spectrum disorder by as early as 12 to 18 months. Two of the most common public supports for young children are early intervention and the public school. Early intervention in Oklahoma is known as Sooner Start. This is a service for infants and toddlers with developmental delays from ages birth to their third birthday. Sooner Start offers a variety of services, including child development, nursing, nutrition, therapy, special education, hearing, vision, and psychology. Referrals can be made by any concerned individual to the County Sooner Start office. One of the most valuable services provided by Sooner Start is the seamless transition into public school programming. If the child is over the age of 2.5, it is likely best to initiate the services with their public school. The school can assist with children ages 3 and up. Parents are often the best person to contact a school if the child is not already receiving Sooner Start services. Parents can contact the local public school special education department to inform of concerns, and the school will initiate the process. When we talk about a medical diagnosis of autism, we're talking about a diagnosis that is based on the DSM-5, or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. This is the official guide doctors and psychologists use to identify autism. A medical diagnosis can only be given by certain professionals, a physician, psychologist, or psychiatrist. This matters because it allows children to qualify for medical services, therapies, and sometimes insurance coverage. The DSM-5 looks at two main areas of characteristics. The first, social communication. Things like how a child interacts with others, uses language, understands body language, or builds friendships. And the second being repetitive and/or rigid behaviors, sometimes referred to as RRBs. This might include routines, strong interests, repeated movements, or difficulty with changes. It's important to remember that autism is not defined by what a child can't do. It's about recognizing how they do things differently. Every child will show these characteristics in their own unique way. Some children may have very noticeable differences, while others might be more subtle. As foster parents, knowing that autism is identified through this medical process helps you understand why doctors might be recommending certain evaluations and why those results matter for accessing supports and services. Now let's look at the educational side of identification. In the schools, autism is defined a little differently than in the medical world. The education system isn't diagnosing autism for medical purposes. Instead, they're looking at how a child's differences affect their ability to learn and participate at school. The special education definition says autism is a developmental disability that significantly affects communication, both verbal and nonverbal, and social interaction. These differences usually show up before age 3, but they may not always be recognized until later. What's important in the schools is that these differences must adversely affect a child's educational performance in order for services to be provided. Schools also recognize other characteristics that may be present, such as repetitive activities or movements, strong resistance to changes in routine, and unusual responses to sounds, lights, textures, or other sensory experiences. For foster parents, this means you might see a child qualify for special education services under the category of autism, even if they don't yet have a medical diagnosis. Or sometimes a child may have a medical diagnosis, but the school doesn't see an educational impact, so they don't qualify for services. Both systems, medical and educational, are looking at the same child, but with different purposes. When both perspectives are considered together, children are more likely to get the full range of supports they need to grow and succeed. Now that we've talked about how autism is identified, let's shift into understanding what autism can actually look like in everyday life. When we use the phrase characteristics of autism, it's important to remember that no two children are exactly the same. Autism is a spectrum, which means it shows up differently for every child. Some children may have big differences in communication or social skills, while others may have strengths in those areas but show differences in behavior, sensory experiences, or routines. As we go through this section, I want you to keep in mind that these are characteristics and not flaws. They're simply part of how a child experiences and interacts with the world. Alongside challenges, many children also have unique strengths, creativity, focus, deep interests, or wonderful memory skills. Our goal in this section is to give you a clearer picture of the common traits you might notice as foster parents, so you can better understand, support, and celebrate the children in your care. Let's take a moment to talk about social connection in children with autism, something that many families begin to notice early on. Children with autism often communicate and connect in different ways, and these differences can affect how they relate to the people around them. For example, some children might talk passionately about a favorite topic like dinosaurs, trains, or video games, but they may not show interest in everyday small talk or back and forth conversations. Others may seem more focused on toys or objects than people, preferring to line up cars or explore how something works rather than joining group play. You might also notice differences in nonverbal communication. A child may not use typical gestures like pointing or waving, or they might pull an adult towards something they want instead of using words. Some children may engage in stimming behaviors, like flapping hands or rocking, even while talking, which can sometimes distract or confuse others who don't understand why they do it. Because of these communication differences, children with autism can struggle to build friendships. Not because they don't want to connect, but because their way of connecting isn't always recognized or understood by others. Sadly, this can lead to children being left out, shunned, or misunderstood, which can make them feel isolated, even from a young age. That's why it's so important to help others, including peers, teachers, and family members, understand these differences and support connection in ways that make sense for the child. When we understand how children with autism express themselves socially, we can create more opportunities for them to build relationships and feel truly seen and valued. Now that we've explored social communication, let's take a look at another key area of autism, repetitive and rigid behaviors, sometimes referred to as RRBs. These behaviors may look different from child to child, and while they might seem unusual at first, they often have a very meaningful purpose. In fact, for many autistic children, these behaviors are ways of expressing themselves, finding comfort, or bringing a sense of order to their world. Some children may engage in repetitive movements like hand flapping, rocking, or spinning. Others may repeat words or phrases they've heard before, something known as echolalia, which can actually be a step toward learning to use language in new ways. You might also notice your child is deeply focused on a specific topic or routine. They may talk excitedly about their favorite interest again and again, or feel upset when a familiar routine is disrupted. These preferences reflect a strong memory, attention to detail, and a desire for predictability, qualities that can become incredible strengths with the right support. Some children play in highly organized and creative ways, like lining up toys, spinning wheels, or sorting objects by color or shape. This kind of play might look different, but it's often a sign of your child learning, exploring, and engaging with the world around them. When we understand that these behaviors are not just habits, but meaningful ways of coping, learning, and communicating, we can begin to respond with curiosity, patience, and support. Before we move on, it's important to pause and recognize that some of the characteristics we've just talked about can also be seen in children who have experienced trauma. For example, both autism and trauma can affect how a child communicates, how they relate to others, and how they respond to changes or stress. A child who has lived through difficult experiences might show behaviors that look very similar to autism. This doesn't mean the two are the same. What it does mean is that children in foster care deserve extra careful observation, patience, and understanding. By keeping both possibilities in mind, we can make sure they get the right kind of support, whether that's trauma-informed care, autism services, or both. When we look at autism and trauma side by side, we see that some of the behaviors can look very similar. This is one of the reasons identification can be complex. Social interaction. When we look at this area, a child may seem withdrawn, avoid eye contact, or have trouble building relationships. In autism, this is usually neurological. It's the way the brain is wired from the beginning. In trauma, these changes often show up after a specific event or difficult experience. With communication, we might see delays, regression, or challenges with expressive language. In autism, this could look like language developing in an unusual way or repeating words and phrases, echolalia. In trauma, we might see selective mutism or even a sudden loss of speech after something upsetting has happened. And behavior. Children may have meltdowns, show aggression, or even engage in self-injurious behaviors. In autism, these behaviors are often the result of sensory overload or disruptions to routine. In trauma, they may come from fear, hypervigilance, or reliving past experiences. The key point is that the same outward behavior can have very different causes. That's why it's so important to look deeper, ask questions, and consider both possibilities. As foster parents, your observations and insights are critical in helping professionals understand what's really going on and how to best support the child. Here are a few more areas where autism and trauma can overlap. Again, the behaviors might look similar on the surface, but the reasons behind them can be very different. In the area of sensory processing, some children can seem overreactive to things like sounds, textures, or lights, while others may be underreactive and may not notice what's going on around them. In autism, sensory differences are very common and tend to be very consistent over time. In trauma, reactions may be linked to more to anxiety or a startle response to reminders of past experiences. In play, this is another area where we can see overlap. Children with autism may show less flexibility in play, or their play may look delayed or focused on very specific fixated interests. Children who have experienced trauma may show withdrawn play, or their play may reenact themes related to what they've gone through. And then the course of symptoms. Both groups of children may have trouble with emotions or transitions. For children with autism, this reflects a neurotype. It's part of how their brain is wired. Autism is lifelong, and the goal of supports is to help them access the world more fully. For children with trauma, symptoms can improve over time with safety, stability, and therapy. As foster parents, the takeaway here is that it isn't your job to make a diagnosis. Your role is to notice patterns, share what you observe, and provide a stable, supportive environment. That information is incredibly valuable for professionals as they figure out whether a child's experiences reflect autism, trauma, or sometimes even a combination of both. All in all, autism and trauma can share many overlapping characteristics. This can make it difficult to know what's causing a child's behavior or challenges. The most important thing you can remember is that you don't have to figure this out alone. That's where professionals step in with evaluations and support. Your role as a foster parent is to observe, care, and provide stability. You see children in their day-to-day lives, their play, their communication, their ups and downs. Those observations are incredibly valuable and can guide professionals in understanding what's really happening. Whether a child is experiencing autism, trauma, or both, the supports you provide, patience, safety, consistency, and encouragement make a huge difference. With the right environment, children can grow, heal, and thrive. At the end of the day, it's not about labels. It's about meeting children where they are and celebrating the strengths they bring while helping them work through challenges they face. As we move forward, let's take a moment to talk about two important ideas, neurodiversity and self-determination. Neurodiversity is the understanding that neurological differences, like autism, are natural variations in the human brain, not problems to be fixed. Just like we all have different personalities, learning styles, and strengths, people also have different ways of thinking, communicating, and experiencing the world. For children with autism, recognizing and honoring these differences helps shift our focus from what's wrong to what's strong. That brings us to self-determination. Self-determination means helping children make choices, express preferences, and have a voice in their own lives, even from a young age. When we support neurodiversity and self-determination together, we're not just helping children cope, we're helping them thrive. We're building their confidence, respecting their identity, and preparing them for a future where they are seen, heard, and valued just as they are. Now let's take a moment to listen to Dr. McEachran, a leading voice in the neurodiversity movement, as she shares her powerful and encouraging perspective. She explains that for a long time, neurological differences like autism and ADHD have been viewed mainly through the medical model as disorders or disabilities that need to be fixed. But Dr. McEachran invites us to see things differently.
Neurological differences like autism or ADHD are considered to be dysfunctional, disorders and disabilities under the medical model of mental health. There's too little attention given to enabling people with neurologically different minds to be accepted for themselves, to discover and celebrate their strengths, and to find a place in society that values their differences. When most of us think of diversity, we think of things like race or sexual orientation, but there's a different kind of diversity you might not know about: neurodiversity. Neurodiversity is the concept that neurological differences among people should be recognized and respected. I believe it's time for this new social movement, the neurodiversity movement, to take off. Neurodiversity is a part of our genetics and of our evolution as a species. The genes for autism and ADHD are not errors, but rather are the result of variations in the human genome that have and will continue to have advantages for society. One of the genes associated with ADHD, the DRD4 gene, is known as the novelty-seeking gene. It arrived on the human evolutionary scene over 10,000 years ago. Genes associated with autism also go back more than 10,000 years. Research suggests that genetic variants linked to autism might have been positively selected during human evolution because they contributed to exceptional memory skills, heightened perception in vision, taste, and smell, a precise eye for detail, and an enhanced understanding of systems such as animal behavior. These characteristics likely remain in the gene pool today because they are still advantageous. As a psychologist advising the parents of differently wired kids, I tell parents they have a choice between trying to change the child to fit the environment and changing the environment to fit the child. There are many different microhabitats and subcultures in our world. For an individual with autism or ADHD, finding success on their own terms may come from discovering the particular niche that fits best, the niche that allows their strengths to shine and their challenges to be minimized. Individuals with ADHD tend to thrive in situations of rapid change, variety, and that reward creativity and out-of-the-box thinking. A career as a comedian, detective, entrepreneur, journalist, actor, EMT technician, or photographer could be. I'm not saying that having autism or ADHD is easy. And I don't mean to downplay the real suffering that can be caused by having a neurodevelopmental condition, disability, or difference. But it's also time the world sees the beauty and value in brain differences. Neurodiversity might be every bit as crucial for the human race as biodiversity is for life in general. My vision is for a neurodiversity tolerant and accepting society where differences are celebrated for the depth and dimension they bring to the human condition. I want children whose brains are wired differently to be encouraged to find their niche instead of changing to fit other people's ideas of normal. Diversity in every sense makes our world a better place, and people who think differently are a huge part of that.
One of the most important shifts in how we think about autism is seeing it as a part of the natural variation of the human brain. Every person's brain is wired a little differently, and those differences shape how we experience the world. In this perspective, differences aren't just acknowledged, they're celebrated. We recognize that each child brings their own unique strengths, talents, and ways of thinking. Autism doesn't make someone less, it simply makes them different. Of course, autism can come with real challenges, and those challenges are valid. But the real problem happens when our communities, schools, and systems aren't designed to include people with those differences. When we make accommodations, whether that's giving extra time, adjusting environments, or offering support, we create space for children with autism to succeed and show their full potential. So instead of asking, what's wrong with this child, we begin asking, how can we change the world around them so they can thrive? Using words like this is important because the way we talk about children matters, not just to others, but to children themselves. Our words help shape how they see themselves and how others respond to them. So to support this, we're going to explore 4 helpful areas you can use when describing your child: strengths, traits, needs, and differences. Strengths are the unique ability your child has that should be seen, supported, and celebrated. Every child has strengths, even if they don't always show up in traditional ways. When we take time to notice what a child enjoys, what they're good at, and what brings them comfort or joy, we're learning about building a foundation for connection and confidence. Traits. These are characteristics often associated with an autism diagnosis. Traits are not good or bad. They're simply part of how your child experiences and moves through the world. Some traits you might notice include social differences, like how your child interacts with others or prefers time alone. They might have a special interest, like a topic or activity they focus on and deeply love. Your child may engage in diverse play, like lining up objects, exploring textures, or playing in a way that's different from other children, but still meaningful to them. And you might also see communication differences, whether that's using gestures instead of words, repeating phrases, or communicating in ways that are unique to your child. Many autistic children are also show focused attention. They can concentrate intensely on something they care about, which can be powerful strength. And finally, there are maybe sensory differences, like being sensitive to certain sounds, textures, or lights, or seeking out sensory input in specific ways. The next area is needs. Some are more visible than others, but all children require different types of support to help them grow, learn, and feel safe. For children with autism, needs may vary depending on their primary and secondary challenges, and those needs can change over time. These could be communication, social, learning, or sensory needs. And finally, differences. Just like all children have unique strengths and needs, they also have their own ways of doing things. And that's something that needs to be embraced, not corrected. What do they like? How do they learn? What motivates them to do things when they are otherwise unmotivated to do so? As we've just explored, truly seeing our children means embracing their strengths, traits, needs, and differences by truly understanding how they communicate, play, regulate, and experience the world. But honoring those differences isn't just about how we talk about our children, it's also how we advocate for them. Being neuroaffirming in our view of autism means building programs and goals that honor the whole child, not just what they need help with. And at the center of this is something called self-determination. Self-determination means having the right to make choices for oneself, to have a say in what matters, how things are done, and how one's day is experienced. And here's something important to know. A child's sense of self begins to develop between 19 months and 3 years. That's when children start to express independence, preferences, and individuality. This is the perfect time to begin supporting those early signs of self-awareness by helping children make meaningful choices and feel heard and respected. Being self-determined doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means learning the skills that promote independence, even in small steps like choosing between two snacks, picking a toy, or showing how they want to communicate. These are the building blocks of confidence and autonomy. So when we're planning goals, therapies, or daily routines, we must ask, what does the child enjoy? How do they want to communicate? What makes them feel safe and successful? And how can we support them in having more control over their day and their life? When we include self-determination in how we advocate for and support autistic children, we're not just helping them grow. We're showing them that their voice matters and that who they are is not only accepted, but respected. This is what being neuroaffirming really means, creating space for every child to be themselves, make choices, and discover their unique path to independence and belonging. So when we're planning goals, therapies, or daily routines, we must focus on helping a child identify their own personal interests and needs, support their ability to make choices, walk them through solving problems, and help them identify what they need to regulate their behavior with support. Now that we've learned more about autism and explored your child's strengths, traits, needs, and differences, the next step is thinking about how to put that understanding into action. One powerful way to do that is by creating a support plan. A support plan helps you organize what your child needs to thrive at home, at school, and in the community. It's a way to make sure everyone involved in your child's life is on the same page and working together. A good support plan is individualized. It reflects your child's unique personality and preferences, not just what they struggle with, but what motivates and empowers them. We'll walk through a few simple examples of how to start building this plan in the following slides. Think of it as a living document, one that can grow and change as your child grows. Some of the questions that can provide more information than any test or piece of medical information are the following. What do you love about your child? What do you hope your child will be able to do? How does your child prefer to communicate? How do you communicate with your child? What comforts your child? And how do you know your child is engaged in an activity? These one-page documents give a quick snapshot of your child, their strengths, communication style, preferences, and support needs, all in one place. It's a great way to help teachers, therapists, caregivers, and even family members understand what matters most about your child right from the start. It can include things like what your child likes, how they communicate, what helps them feel calm and successful, what they're good at and how they learn, and most importantly, what makes them who they are. This document is a clear, positive, and personalized way to describe your child to others. It's especially helpful during transitions, like starting a new school, meeting a new therapist, or joining a new group, because it helps others see your child as a whole person, not just through the lens of a diagnosis. Another helpful tool you can use is a reinforcer inventory. This is simply a list of your child's preferences, likes, and dislikes, things they enjoy, things that motivate them, and things they might avoid. This can include favorite toys, activities, snacks, people, places, or even sensory experiences they love or dislike. Sharing this information helps others, like teachers, therapists, and caregivers, better connect with your child and use what they enjoy to encourage learning, communication, and engagement. It's a great way to make sure your child's day is filled with things that are meaningful and motivating for them. Now that we've talked about what autism can look like and how to better understand your child's strengths, traits, needs, and differences, let's shift our focus to what you can do at home to support your child in everyday life. Parenting a child with autism can come with unique challenges, but also so many meaningful moments of growth, connection, and success. We're going to walk through 5 practical tips that can make real difference in your daily routines. These strategies are designed to help you better understand your child, reduce stress, and build more positive interactions in your home. We'll cover understanding behavior, looking at behavior as communication, not just something to manage, using visual supports to increase understanding and predictability, understanding sensory processing and how it impacts your child's comfort and focus, supporting your child during behavior escalation, what to do in the moment and how to prevent future challenges, and finally, connecting to helpful resources so you know you're not alone and have access to the support you need. When it comes to behavior, one of the most helpful ways to understand it is by thinking of it like an iceberg. What we see on the surface, things like meltdowns, refusal, running away, or hitting, are just the tip of the iceberg. These are the outward behaviors we notice most, but they don't tell the whole story. Underneath the surface, there's a lot more going on. This is where we find the real reasons behind the behavior. Things like difficulty with communication, sensory overwhelm, anxiety, frustration, fatigue, hunger, or a need for more structure. Just like an iceberg, the biggest and most important parts are hidden beneath the surface. When we focus only on stopping the behavior, we might miss what the child is really trying to tell us. But when we take time to look underneath, to understand the why, we can respond in a way that is more compassionate, more effective, and more supportive for the child. So instead of asking, how do I stop this behavior? We can start asking, what is my child trying to communicate? Or what might be going on beneath the surface? That shift in perspective makes all the difference. As we discussed, behavior is often just the tip of the iceberg. Now let's go a little deeper and talk about why the behavior happens. All behavior, whether it's positive or challenging, serves a purpose. In fact, most behaviors can be linked to one of 4 common functions. Understanding these can help us respond more effectively and meet our child's needs in more supportive ways. Usually, these behaviors occur to, number 1, gain access. Sometimes a child behaves a certain way to get something they want. This could be a favorite toy, a snack, or even time on a screen. Number 2, to gain attention. A child may act out or repeat a behavior to get someone's attention, whether it's from a parent, sibling, or peer. This isn't always about being disruptive. Sometimes it's just their way of saying, notice me, I need you. Number 3, avoid or escape. If something is overwhelming, confusing, or unpleasant, a child might try to get away from it. This could be a task that feels too hard, a noisy environment, or a transition they weren't prepared for. And finally, to fulfill a sensory need. Some behaviors help a child regulate their sensory system. They may spin, rock, hum, or even seek deep pressure because it helps them feel calm or alert. These behaviors are often automatic and not always something the child is fully aware of. When we can identify the function behind the behavior, we're better able to support our child by teaching new skills, offering alternatives, or adjusting the environments to meet their needs. It's not about controlling the behavior. It's about understanding what the child is trying to tell us and responding with empathy and intention. It's important to remember that behavior is communication. Long before a child can speak, they are already communicating with us through crying, reaching, pointing, pulling away, or even having a meltdown. Behavior is how children express their wants, needs, thoughts, and feelings when they may not yet have the words. So instead of seeing behavior as bad or something to stop, we can start asking, what is my child trying to tell me? That simple shift can help us better understand what they need and how we can support them. We all communicate in 2 main ways, receptively and expressively. Receptive communication is how we take in information, how we understand or receive messages. Children do this by hearing words or sounds, looking at pictures, or observing and imitating what others do. Expressive communication is how we send or share messages with others. Children might do this by using gestures like pointing or waving, making vocalizations or sounds, saying words, using pictures or communication devices, or even through behavior like leading you by the hand or pushing something away. All of these are valid and important ways of communicating. The key is recognizing and supporting how your child communicates right now, while also helping them build new ways to express themselves over time. Now let's take a moment to watch a short video that went viral, a sweet and funny interaction between a father and his toddler son. At first glance, it might just look like 2 people talking, but what makes this video so special is that it shows how communication is so much more than just words. As you watch, pay close attention to the toddler's gestures, facial expressions, turn taking, and the way he shares attention with his dad. This is a great example of how even without clear words, children can carry on a meaningful, connected interaction. Let's take a look.
Okay. They need to work on that, right? Yes, okay. Did you understand it though? No. Okay. All right. Huh? Oh, no, not this one. This is the grand finale of this. Yeah, that's the last one. That's what I was wondering. I don't know what they're gonna do next season because they did some stuff this time. Exactly what I was thinking. Oh yeah. Right. Don't bring that again. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah. Yeah. Like go somewhere else with that, but don't bring it here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I said. And then it was like, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, what in the world? But don't do that here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Really? I thought the same thing. We think a lot alike, huh? Oh, that's crazy. Right.
One of the most helpful things we can do for our children is to support how they understand what we're saying. Sometimes when children struggle to follow directions or respond, it's not that they aren't listening. It might be that our communication is just too complex or too fast. Here are a few simple ways to help. First, simplify your communication. Use short, clear phrases. Instead of saying, let's clean up and get ready to go because we're going to be late, You might just say, clean up, time to go. Tell them what to do. Focus on clear, positive directions. Say walk instead of don't run. Give time to respond. After you give a direction, pause. Children with processing differences often need a few extra seconds to take in what you said and decide what to do. And use visuals. Pictures, gestures, or showing an object can help your child understand your message more easily, especially when words are hard to process. These strategies can be incredibly helpful in meeting where your child is and make communication more clear, calm, and successful for the both of you. Now that we've talked about helping your child understand communication, let's look at how to support them in expressing themselves. When children can clearly express what they want or need, it reduces frustration, builds confidence, and strengthens their connection with others. Here are a few ways you can help. Teach how to make a choice. Start with simple options like, do you want juice or water? And you can hold up these objects or photos of these objects and let your child point to pick if they are not able to verbally state their choice. Use pointing or picture choice boards to support decision making, especially, like I said, when spoken words are hard to find. Teach how to ask for help. Use clear phrases and visuals like a help card so your child can let you know when they're struggling. And teach how to ask for a break. Whether you're through a gesture, sign, word, or picture, this is powerful to help your child manage overwhelm and avoid meltdowns. And remember to use visuals throughout. Pictures, signs, objects can support expressive communication, especially in moments when emotions are high or spoken words are hard to access. The goal isn't just to increase speech. It's to give your child more ways to be heard and understood by others. One helpful tool you can use to support your child and help others understand them is a visual communication profile. This one from the Vanderbilt Kennedy is called the Replacement Behavior Menu. This is a simple one-page visual that gives a quick overview of how your child currently communicates, what that communication means, and how both your family and the professional team are supporting that method. It also explains how others can support it too. This profile includes how your child communicates. For example, do they use gestures, pictures, vocalizations, a device, or behavior? Do they point to what they want, hand you items, use a specific sound or sign to mean help or more? And what does it mean? It helps others understand when your child does a certain behavior, it has a purpose and a message behind it. And how are you going to support that method at home or in therapy? Maybe you're using picture cards, modeling signs, or encouraging the use of a device. And most importantly, how others can support it too. Teachers, extended family, babysitters, or anyone in your child's life can use this visual to communicate more clearly and consistency. The goal is to help everyone around your child respond in ways that are supportive and respectful. This will reduce frustration and build more meaningful communication opportunities. Our second tip is to use visual supports, and these can be incredibly helpful for children on the spectrum. Many autistic children are visual learners, which means they often understand and remember things better when they can see them. Visual supports make communication more concrete and predictable, which can reduce stress and increase understanding. Some simple examples include picture schedules to show what's happening next, choice boards to help your child express preferences, first then boards to set clear expectations, or even using photos or objects to represent daily routines. These tools help your child process information at their own pace, support independence, and reduce the need for verbal reminders. One easy and effective type of visual support is a first then board. It helps children understand what needs to happen first and what's coming next, which can make transitions easier and reduce frustration. For example, first clean up, then play computer. Or first bathroom, then play Lego. These visuals give clear expectations and motivation by showing that something preferred is coming after a task. It's a simple way to support routines and cooperation, especially when your child knows what to expect. Now that we've talked about how helpful first then schedules can be, Let's take a look at a short video from Autism Speaks that shows what this looks like in action. In this video, you'll see how to introduce and use a first then visual to support a child through a task, starting with something that might be less preferred, followed by something motivating. As you watch, pay attention to the adult when they use clear visuals, a calm tone, and follow through with the reward. This kind of structure helps reduce anxiety, increase cooperation, and supports understanding, especially for children who benefit from clear visual routines. Let's take a look.
If your child is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and struggles with anxiety, attention difficulties, or other challenging behavior, a first-then board can be a useful tool to clarify expectations and provide motivation in a visual way. Specifically, it lets them know they will earn something they like after completing a task that may be difficult or less preferred. A first-then board can be made with photos, drawings, objects, written words on a list, or apps on your phone. Why might a first-then board be helpful for my child? Through the use of a concrete visual structure, a first-then board is helpful in teaching children to follow directions and learn new skills. For example, if you are teaching your child to first get dressed in the morning so that they can then eat their favorite snack, seeing this on a first-then board may help them learn to get dressed more quickly. A first-then board also tells your child that you understand their frustrations with tasks that may be hard or overwhelming and have found a reward they can focus on during an activity. This can help your child have a more positive experience with those overwhelming activities, such as going to the doctor. A first-then board can also teach the idea of cause and effect. For example, I wait in line for the slide, and then I get to slide. This may lay the foundation for completing directions that have several steps or present more of a challenge, such as cleaning their room. The reward should be something motivating enough that your child is willing to work for it, rather than something they may just like. If you're having a hard time thinking of a reward, think about what they do when they have free time. Then decide how you can make that available only after the first activity, such as a favorite game, a specific snack, or time on the computer. This family is working on chores with their daughter, Annie, who had a particularly hard time vacuuming.
Annie, are you ready to vacuum?
No.
No what?
Vacuum.
Her mother created a first-then board by putting a picture of a vacuum in the first box and a picture of an iPad break in the then box. The first-then board was placed in the room where she would use the vacuum, so they can make the clear connection during the task. In order to make sure Annie learned what the first-then board was in a positive way, her mother first used it during walks, a task that she usually completed willingly and successfully. Following walks, she earned an iPad break. Her mom introduced the more difficult task of vacuuming with the help of the first-then board. When it was time for Annie to vacuum, her mom cued her with a brief verbal instruction.
Okay, Annie. First, vacuum. Then, iPad break. Right. First, vacuum. Come on.
After she got started, her mom praised Annie's progress.
Good job, Annie. One more piece.
And pointed to the first-then board again. When Annie struggled a bit, she continued to calmly prompt her through the activity and kept the focus on the task at hand.
Done.
All done.
Done, Mom.
Way to go.
Done.
Right away, her mom linked the completed task to the reward.
Okay, Annie. Good job. First vacuum. All done. Now, iPad break.
And immediately let her have the iPad.
Here's your iPad.
In order to teach the value of the first thin board, it was important that she let her have the iPad break as soon as she was done vacuuming, even though she needed help. This is to make sure she believes what is on the board and sees the value in completing the task. As vacuuming becomes easier, the first activity can transition to a more difficult goal they are working on.
Good job.
Creating a first thin board can help increase your child's independence and success across a variety of activities. Please check back in and leave us a comment to let us know how these changes are going.
Another great visual tool you can use at home is a visual choice board. These boards show your child a set of pictures they can choose from to communicate what they want, like a snack, activity, toy, or break. Choice boards are especially effective for children with autism because they make communication more concrete and reduce the pressure of having to come up with the spoken words. When children can clearly see their options, it can lead to fewer frustrations and more successful interactions. When creating a choice board, it's important to think about a few things. The type of image. Some children respond best to simple cartoons or drawings, while others might benefit more from actual photos of real objects or people in their environment. And the size of the image. Bigger images might be easier for younger children or those with visual or motor challenges. For other children, smaller images may be more manageable. The key is to match the board to your child's current level of understanding and make it meaningful to them. Even just offering 2 choices at a time can be a big step toward more independent and confident communication. Another powerful visual support you can use at home is a visual schedule. A visual schedule shows your child what's happening next using pictures, words, or symbols. It can outline part of the day, like morning or bedtime routine, or show the whole day in order. Visual schedules are especially helpful for children with autism because they make daily routines more predictable and easier to understand. When children can see what's coming, it helps reduce anxiety, increases independence, and can make transitions smoother. Instead of constantly needing verbal reminders or instruction, your child can look at the schedule and know what to expect. This builds confidence and can decrease power struggles or meltdowns during tricky times of the day. The key is to keep it simple and consistent. You can use photos, line drawings, or even objects, depending on what works best for your child. And you can always adapt it as their needs change. Using a visual schedule at home isn't just about staying organized. It's about creating a more peaceful, predictable environment where your child can feel more in control and successful. Now that we've talked about the benefits of visual schedules, let's watch a short video from Autism Speaks that shows how to set one up and use it at home. In this video, you'll see step-by-step how to create a visual schedule, introduce it to your child, and use it to guide routines through the day. As you watch, pay attention to how the adult uses clear visuals, stays consistent, and gently supports the child in following the schedule. This is a great example of how visual supports can make everyday routines less stressful and more predictable for children with autism and easier for their families too.
Is your child having a difficult time understanding or using language? Are those difficulties causing frustration, challenging behaviors, or anxiety?
If so, a visual schedule may be able to help.
What is a visual schedule? A visual schedule shows what is going to happen throughout the day or during an activity with multiple steps. A visual schedule can be made with photos, drawings, objects, written words, apps on your phone, or lists. Why might a visual schedule be helpful?
Communicating a message both verbally and visually can help increase understanding and clarify expectations.
For children who often have a difficult time focusing on tasks, a visual schedule can also help them pay attention to important details of an activity. If they experience anxiety, rigidity, or irritability around unfamiliar situations or transitions between tasks, visual schedules can help by indicating when a certain activity will occur in a way that feels more predictable. How do I create an effective visual schedule for my child? First, decide the activities that you will put on the schedule in an order in which they should occur. Try to mix in the preferred activities with less preferred ones. The schedule can be portable, for example, on a binder, clipboard, or an app on your phone. Or it can be fixed to a permanent place, like a refrigerator or a wall. There should also be some way to show when an activity is completed, such as an all done pocket at the bottom of the schedule, or by physically checking off a task in the task box. Let's take a look at a visual schedule in action. Andrew needed help completing activities after school and had a hard time transitioning between different tasks.
I really don't like, Mama, I don't know all the words in it.
That's all right, I can help you.
His mother created a visual schedule with drawings of each activity on a Velcro board. The schedule was portable so they could take it along throughout the routine. She also made sure to put a combination of enjoyable and not so enjoyable activities on the schedule. To more easily teach Andrew what the visual schedule was, Mom first used it during tasks that he usually completed willingly and successfully, like dinner and playtime. In order to give him time to decompress after a long day at school, his mom started the schedule with playtime, which was easy and fun.
All right, buddy, here's what we're going to do this afternoon. Play, snack, homework, bath, and dinner, okay? First, we're going to go out and play. Okay, Andrew, now it's time for snack.
Okay.
Here we go.
Because this was a more neutral activity for him, the transition from snack to homework was easier than the transition from playtime to homework would be.
All right, Andrew, now it's time to do our homework.
Homework can be hard for him, so she followed up this task with bath, which was a calming activity for him.
It's bath time, and we already did homework. It's bath time.
Great job, bud.
This was also to help provide motivation to complete homework in a timely manner. She finished the schedule with dinner time, which he enjoys. When using a schedule, his mom gave a verbal cue before each transition.
All right, Andrew, 2 more minutes. We're going to go inside, okay?
Okay, Mama.
And used a timer to help him know when certain tasks were going to be over. When it was time for an activity on the schedule to occur, she cued him with a brief verbal instruction to help him understand that it was time to transition and pay attention as the next activity begins.
All right, Andrew, we're all done homework. Check schedule.
Bath time.
You got it. Good job, buddy.
At first, he needs prompting to use the schedule, so Mom guides his hand so he can move the pictures once he has completed the activity.
All done. Can you take this off? Good. Now we're going to go in for snack. All right.
And calmly guides him to the next activity if he does not do so on his own.
All right, we're all done snack. Good. Now it's time for homework.
As he becomes more independent using the schedule throughout the day,
right,
she
Andrew,
praises
we're
him in
all
a
done.
detailed way by saying,
Great, checking your schedule.
a visual schedule can also be used to teach flexibility when sudden changes must occur. She added variability by introducing an oops card that represents an unknown. She began by teaching this paired with a positive activity like getting ice cream as his snack.
We're gonna have an ice cream party.
And gradually used it to communicate true, unexpected changes in the schedule that may be tougher to adapt to, such as doctor's appointments. As your child gets older, a visual schedule is still important, but may look different. This young woman uses a written list on a dry erase board. and independently marks them off as she completes each step in the routine. Creating a visual schedule can help decrease your child's anxiety, irritability, and challenging behaviors while increasing independence and success. Please check back in and leave us a comment to let us know how these changes are going.
Our third tip is to consider how your child processes sensory information, because for many children with autism, the way they experience the world through their senses can be quite different. Children with autism may be more sensitive or less sensitive to things like sound, light, touch, movement, taste, or smell. For example, a sound that seems quiet to us might feel overwhelming to your child, or they might seek out certain sensations like spinning, squeezing, or chewing to feel calm and to focus. These sensory differences aren't misbehaviors. They're real experiences that affect how your child feels and how they respond to their environment. By recognizing and supporting these differences, we can make home routines more comfortable and reduce stress. This might mean creating a quiet space, offering fidget tools, dimming lights, using noise-canceling headphones, or building in movement breaks throughout the day. When we support sensory needs, we help our children feel safe, regulated, and ready to learn and connect. Sensory processing is how our brain takes in and makes sense of all the information from our senses, like sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, movement, and body awareness. For most people, this happens automatically, but for many children with autism, the brain processes that information differently. Some kids may be extra sensitive. Things like loud noises, bright lights, or certain textures might feel overwhelming or even painful. Other kids might be undersensitive, like they seek out more input, like moving a lot, touching everything, or making loud sounds because their body is craving that sensory experience. These reactions aren't bad behavior. They are a sign that your child's nervous system is working in a different way. When we understand how sensory processing works, we can better support our child's comfort, focus, and emotional regulation, whether it's through creating quiet spaces, offering calming tools, or just knowing when to slow things down. Sometimes it's easier to think about sensory processing and the support we can provide by thinking about beaker sizes. When someone is over responsive, they can get overwhelmed easily, which means they need structure and predictability. If they have a large beaker, they could be thought of as under responsive, and we need a lot of information to keep them engaged and focused. Here's a visual chart that shows examples of how children with autism may be over-responsive or under-responsive across different sensory areas. Each of the different sensory areas are described, and it might surprise you to see that there are more than 5. While we often think of sound, sight, touch, smell, and taste, you might be less familiar with body awareness and movement. Body awareness is the awareness of where your body is in space, and movement refers to the types of movement through space that one enjoys or avoids, like swinging or spinning. Every child experiences the world through their senses in their own way. And for children with autism, those experiences can be more intense or more muted than one might expect. To support sensory processing differences, the first step is to observe what your child seeks out or avoids. Notice what seems calming or overwhelming. Then you can make small adjustments. Think support, not fixing. Things like creating a quiet space, using noise-canceling headphones, offering fidget tools, or adding movement breaks throughout the day can give a child the support they need to be successful at home, school, or in the community. Consider the type of sensory processor they are. Are they over or under responsive? And to what type of information? Also give supports based on those beaker sizes. It's not about fixing the way a child experiences the world. It's about helping them feel safe, comfortable, and regulated so they can learn, connect, and enjoy their environment. Let's look at some support examples for each area. To support children with sight sensitivities, you can make a few simple changes at home. Try to reduce fluorescent lighting, which can flicker or buzz in a way that's uncomfortable. Offer sunglasses or brimmed hats indoors or outside to help with bright or harsh lighting. Use blackout curtains in bedrooms or calming spaces to reduce light and help with rest. And if your child is doing homework or focused tasks, try setting up a quiet area with high dividers or walls to block out visual distractions and help them concentrate. These small adjustments can make a big difference in helping your child feel more comfortable, focused, and calm. Many children with autism are especially sensitive to sound. What might seem like normal background noise to us, like a vacuum, traffic, or crowded room, can feel overwhelming or even painful for them. There are a few things you can do at home or in the community to help support your child. Shut doors and windows when possible to reduce outside noise and create a quieter space. Prepare your child before going to noisy or crowded spaces by telling them what to expect and offering options like a break or a quiet place. Provide earplugs or noise-canceling headphones, or even music they enjoy through earbuds or headphones to help them block out overwhelming sounds. Create quiet workstation or play area that's away from doors, windows, or high-traffic areas so they can focus without distraction. By recognizing and supporting your child's sensitivity to sound, you help them feel safer and calmer. Some children with autism are very sensitive to smells. Strong scents like perfumes, cleaning products, or even certain foods can be overwhelming and may lead to discomfort, distraction, or even physical reactions like headaches or nausea. To support your child's sensitivity to smell, be cautious with scented items in your home like candles, plug-ins, or air fresheners. Even if they seem pleasant to us, they can be too intense for a child with smell sensitivities. Avoid applying perfume, scented lotions, aftershave, or heavily scented deodorants when you're spending close time with your child. These small changes show your child that you're listening to their needs. Many children with autism are sensitive to touch. What feels comforting to one person, like a hug or a pat on the back, might feel overwhelming or even painful to a child with tactile sensitivities. Here are a few ways to support your child. Always approach from the front and let them know before you touch them. Surprise hugs or tickling can be uncomfortable or distressing, even if meant with love. When possible, let your child take the lead with self-care tasks like brushing their hair or washing their face. This gives them control over how much pressure or texture they can tolerate. If certain fabrics or clothing bother them, try turning clothes inside out or removing tags and labels. Most importantly, let your child wear clothing that feels comfortable to them. Even if it's the same outfit again and again, comfort often matters more than variety. You can also gradually introduce new textures, allowing your child to explore at their own pace without pressure. Many children with autism experience sensitivities to taste, texture, temperature, or smell when it comes to food. These sensitivities can make eating a stressful experience for both the child and the family. Here are some ways you can support your child's relationship with food. First, don't force your child to eat or try new foods. This can actually increase anxiety and make mealtimes even more difficult. Instead, prepare your child in advance. If a meal will include a new strong-smelling food, let them know. It gives them a sense of what to expect and some control. You can also experiment with small changes, like adding different flavorings, seasonings, or dips to familiar foods. Sometimes adding new taste to a food they already like is a gentle way to expand their options. The goal is not to push or rush, but to support your child in feeling safe, comfortable, and respected at mealtimes, one small step at a time. Some children with autism have differences in body awareness, which means they might have trouble sensing where their body is in space. This can affect how they move, how close they stand to others, or how they navigate through a room. Here are a few ways you can support your child's body awareness at home. Position furniture along the edges of a room to create open walkways. This makes it easier for your child to move around without bumping into things. Try using a weighted blanket to provide deep pressure and input. Many children find this calming, and it can help them feel more grounded in their body. It's important to know that when using weighted supports, the support, blanket, vest, or other type of weighted item should only be 10% of the child's body weight. Use colored tape on the floor to show boundaries, like where to stand during routines or how far to walk. This adds a clear visual cue for where their body should be. Teach the arm's length rule for personal space. Have your child stretch their arms out This is a helpful way for them to judge a comfortable distance from others. Some children with autism have a strong need for movement. They might need to bounce, spin, jump, or pace in order to feel calm, focused, or regulated. Others may become overwhelmed by too much movement and need more rest and stillness. To support your child's movement needs, consider offering movement breaks throughout the day. Things like jumping on a trampoline, swinging, stretching, or going for a walk can help your child release energy and stay regulated. At the same time, make sure to provide quiet time or rest breaks when your child seems tired, overstimulated, or needs a moment to reset. It's also important to allow time for self-stimulatory behaviors or stimming, like rocking, spinning, or flapping, which many children use to self-regulate. As long as it's safe, stimming can be a healthy and helpful part of how your child manages their sensory and emotional needs. The goal is to help your child find a rhythm that balances movement and rest. Our fourth tip focuses on how to support your child during moments of escalation or challenging behavior. Even when you have the right supports in place, like visual schedules, sensory tools, or communication strategies, challenging moments are still going to happen. That's completely normal. Children with autism face many challenges that can lead to frustration, meltdowns, or shutdowns. Not because they're misbehaving, but because of how their brains interpret the world. Loud noises, unpredictable changes, unclear expectations, or even physical discomfort can quickly become overwhelming. During these moments, children may not be able to explain what they're feeling, and they may express it through crying, yelling, running away, or even hitting. These behaviors are a sign that they are in distress, not trying to cause problems. The good news is there are things parents and families can do to help ease that frustration and keep everyone safe. We'll go over simple strategies you can use in the moment, like staying calm, using fewer words, offering space, or using calming tools. These moments are tough, but they're also an opportunity to connect with your child and support them through something hard. Let's take a look at how we can do that with care and confidence. Let's watch a helpful video from the Autism Helper. This video shares 5 practical tips for de-escalation, things you can do when your child is upset, overwhelmed, or in the middle of a meltdown. As you watch, pay attention to how each strategy focuses on staying calm, offering choices, and helping your child feel safe in the moment. These are tools that not only help manage behavior, but also build trust and connection over time.
When a student is overwhelmed and escalated, it can be challenging to know how to respond in a way that will help that student calm down and reduce those challenging behaviors in the moment while keeping everyone safe, right? I'm Sasha Long. I'm a former special education teacher and a board certified behavior analyst. And I'm going to share 5 tips for working with a student who is extremely escalated and helping them work through that challenging time. All right, tip number 1, 2 words, safety and space. Before you do anything, before you get involved, before you talk, your first thought needs to be safety. If the student is engaging in any aggression, extreme disruption, property destruction, eloping, anything like that, your first thought is safety. Because the most important thing is keeping that child and the other kids in your classroom, if you are a teacher, safe. So think about removing other students from the area, removing damaging items, things that they could throw or maybe bang their head on, removing those things. If the student is throwing themselves to the ground, maybe you put some soft pillows there, but you're giving them space. You're in that moment, if there's like that kind of blow up, there's that extreme behavior, you're going to give them space, but keep them safe. So think of those 2 words, safety and space. Removing other students, we're not yelling, we're not getting involved. That's all we're thinking about first, safety and space. All right, number 2, this is the hard one. You got to get yourself in check. You got to get yourself in check first before you do anything else. So we are giving that student space while keeping them safe. But before we get involved, we have to get ourselves in check because sometimes we contribute to the problem by overreacting. We don't want to react here. We want to respond. There's a difference between responding and reacting. A reaction is filled with emotion. A response is thought out. So you want to respond. So take a minute, which feels hard when it's a stressful situation and it could be dangerous or there's extreme behaviors happening. Take a minute, get yourself in check. This is not about you right now. This is about helping that child who is having a really hard time, helping them through this time, helping them through this situation, helping them get through to the other end. That's what this is about right now. This isn't a personal attack on you. This is about right now helping them. So get yourself in check. All right, strategy number 3. We've given them space. We're keeping them safe. We're putting ourselves in check. Now we're going to model calmness. You're going to walk over in a quiet, calm voice. You want to be very aware of your body language. You want to be very aware of your tone of voice. You want to model what you want them to do. If you rush over hyped up with your anxiety and your stress level and all your feelings at an 11 out of 10, that's what they're going to mirror. So keep your voice low, be aware of your body language, your facial expression, and model calmness. Now, step 4, this is one of my favorites. Now we're gonna offer choices. Oh my gosh, choices are so powerful. And I think it's really important to give choices when someone is escalated or upset. Now, there's a lot of great coping strategies we can teach and offer, but we're not gonna be like, hey, you should go for a walk or you should take deep breaths. We're gonna give choices. I love tools like visual choice boards that give options for what to do. I'm gonna show a few of those in a second because we wanna empower that child to decide how to calm down. When I'm upset, I don't want someone to tell me how to calm down. I want to give choices. So give some options of things they can do. Hey, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to stay here? Do you want to get a drink of water? Again, slower than that. I'm going real fast right now. If the student has lower receptive language or struggles with receptive language processing, we'll use those visuals. Let me show you a few examples of those. Here are a few of my favorite visuals for offering choices when someone is escalated, giving these calm down strategies, giving written options, because remember, text is a visual too, offering different calm down tools and having a choice board for that. If you're using something like a social story, again, we can pick a calm down strategy. Here's how I feel and here's what I will do. So lots of things that have options and choices, whether it's visual choices or a written down choice or just a verbal choice, will be helpful with empowering that student to pick a strategy that will work for them. And strategy number 5 is to offer support instead of accusations. While we are still calming down, while we are still in that escalated state, we're not back to regular levels yet, we are not pointing out what they did wrong. Hey, you threw over that bookshelf, you punched Johnny. Now is not the time to highlight the problem. They know likely what negative choices they made and what negative behaviors they engaged in. Now is not the time to point that out. Now is the time to offer support. Especially for our kids that have a history of trauma, we want to show them and tell them that I am still here for you. Even though you engaged in negative behaviors, I am still here for you. Learning and those problem-solving steps will come later, but while we're still escalated, it is not the time for learning. People do not learn when they are in an escalated state. I don't learn when I'm really upset or overwhelmed. Now is the time to show that student that you are there for them. Offer support instead of accusations. All right, those were the 5 tips for helping a student who is overwhelmed and escalated. If you'd like more behavior strategies and behavior tips, please follow my channel for more coming your way.
Let's review those 5 steps one more time. First, stay safe and give space. Keep safety the priority for you and your child. Step back and give your child physical space so they don't feel cornered or overwhelmed. Number 2, check yourself. Take a moment to pause and check in with yourself. Ask, am I calm, connected, and caring right now? Your energy can either calm the situation or add to the stress. 3, model calm. Your child is watching you. Show them what calm looks like by keeping your voice, face, and body relaxed. Even if things are intense, your calm presence can be grounding. Number 4, offer choices. Help your child feel some control by offering simple, clear choices. Use visuals if needed to support understanding and reduce pressure. This can help them feel more empowered and less stuck. And number 5, offer support, not correction. Now is not the time to talk about what went wrong. Avoid blame or lectures. Instead, offer quiet, non-judgmental support. Save problem solving for later, once your child is regulated. Next, we're going to look at a quick graphic that focuses on something really important: staying calm during challenging moments. As parents and caregivers, we often focus so much on how to help our child calm down, but sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is check in with ourselves first. This graphic is a reminder that our tone, body language, and presence matter. When we stay calm, we help our child feel safer and more supported, even when things feel tough. The final tip is about something so important: knowing where to turn for help. Raising a child with autism can feel overwhelming at times, but the good news is you're not alone. There are many local and online resources that offer support, information, and connection for families just like yours. From early intervention programs and therapy providers to parent support groups, educational materials, and trusted websites, you don't have to figure out everything on your own. Reaching out for help is a strength, not a weakness, and finding the right resources can make a huge difference for your child and your family. One of the first resources that we will discuss is those available for evaluation and identification. Those can come from those public supports we discussed earlier, early intervention, Sooner Start, in the public school, or from private outpatient services. If the child is under the age of 3, they may be eligible for early intervention through Oklahoma's Sooner Start program. If your child is under 2.5 years old and you have concerns about their development, you can make a referral by contacting your county's Sooner Start office directly. Referrals can be made by anyone, parents, caregivers, or professionals. Sooner Start provides developmental evaluations, and if your child qualifies, they offer early intervention services in areas like communication, motor skills, behavior, and more. One of the biggest benefits Sooner Start offers is that they help ensure a smooth transition into the public school when your child turns 3. And it's important to know you can access Sooner Start alongside private or outpatient services like speech or occupational therapy. These supports can work together to give your child the best possible start. For children ages 3 through 21, support services are available through the public school system under a federal law called IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. If you have concerns about your child's development, learning, or behavior, you can contact your local public school's special education department and request an evaluation. This evaluation helps determine if your child is eligible for special education services. It's important to know that the school's role is not to provide a diagnosis, but to identify whether your child qualifies for support based on educational need. A medical diagnosis is not required to access these services. If your child is found eligible, services such as speech, occupational therapy, or specialized instruction are provided by the school and funded by the school. You can also access private or outpatient services alongside school-based support. These can work together to meet your child's full range of needs at home and in the classroom. If you're looking for local providers, whether for evaluation, therapy, or other autism-related services, an updated provider list is available through the Oklahoma Autism Network. They keep a current list of professionals and clinics across the state, and it's a great place to start when you're not sure of where to turn. You can visit their website or contact them directly for more information. There are several types of professionals who may be a part of your child's support team. Here's a quick overview of what each service focuses on. Psychology, psychiatry. These professionals help with emotional, behavioral, and mental health needs. Psychiatrists can also prescribe and manage medications when appropriate. Speech-language pathology. Speech-language pathologists or therapists support communication skills, including understanding and using language, social interaction, and speech clarity. Occupational therapy, or OT. OTs help children develop everyday skills like using their hands, managing clothing, eating, or tolerating sensory input. Physical therapy, or PT. Physical therapists focus on helping children build strength, balance, and coordination for things like walking, climbing, or playing safely. Applied behavior analysis, or ABA. ABA therapists use structured techniques to help children build skills and reduce behaviors that interfere with learning or daily life. And counseling. Counseling provides emotional support and helps children learn coping skills, manage feelings, and work through challenges in a safe and supportive setting. When it comes to medical-based services like speech therapy, occupational therapy, or counseling, there are a few things to keep in mind. These services often require a referral from your child's physician to get started. If you're seeking a formal diagnosis, only a physician or licensed psychologist can provide that. These services are usually billed through your health insurance, just like other medical appointments. Families are typically responsible for any copays or deductibles. You do not need an autism diagnosis to access most intervention services like speech or occupational therapy. The exception here is applied behavior analysis, or ABA, which usually does require an autism diagnosis for insurance coverage. Understanding the process ahead of time can help you feel more prepared when reaching out for support. If you're noticing early signs of autism or just starting to have questions about your child's development, there are several helpful screening and identification resources you can turn to. One great starting point is the CDC's Learn the Signs, Act Early campaign. It provides easy to understand developmental milestones and tools to help track your child's growth. Autism Speaks also offers the First Concern to Action Toolkit, which walks families through what to do if you're noticing early signs, how to talk to your pediatrician, and where to go next. For screening, many professionals use the MChat, a free online tool designed for children 16 to 30 months old. It helps identify early signs of autism and can be shared with your doctor. Here in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Autism Center's Early Access Program supports families through the screening and referral process and can help connect you to early intervention services. These resources can give you clarity and confidence as you take the next step in supporting your child's development. Here is a list of valuable resources here in our state. First, the organization bringing you this training, the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma, or AFO. The mission of AFO is to improve the quality of life for Oklahomans with autism and their families. They work across many areas to create meaningful change through advocacy, raising awareness, supporting early childhood development, and leading public health and safety efforts. They're also involved in workplace development to create more inclusive job opportunities and in criminal justice reform to better support individuals with autism across different systems. AFO is doing powerful work to make Oklahoma a more supportive and inclusive place for individuals on the spectrum and the families who love them. Number 2, the Oklahoma Autism Network is another key support for families across the state. It is dedicated to improving the quality of life for individuals with autism and their families. The network does this through strong focus on research, education, and direct services, all while respecting each person's unique preferences and promoting inclusion within the community. Their website includes a provider directory, and they host the annual Autism Statewide Conference. Next, the Oklahoma Family Network, or OFN, is a wonderful resource for families of children with special health care needs or disabilities. Their mission is to inform and connect families, individuals, and professionals to services and support available in their communities. Whether you're looking for guidance, local resources, or someone who understands what you're going through, OFN can help you navigate the system and find the support you need right here in Oklahoma. Autism Oklahoma is a community-focused organization that helps families connect, grow, and thrive. They create unique experiences for children, teens, and adults with autism, helping them discover their talents, build confidence, and feel a sense of belonging. Autism Oklahoma also works with communities across the state to promote understanding and embrace differences, making the world more welcoming and inclusive for individuals on the spectrum. It's a great place to find support, connection, and opportunities to celebrate each child's unique strengths. The ARC of Oklahoma is a nonprofit organization that supports individuals with intellectual and development disabilities, including autism. They provide information, advocacy, and support to help people of all ages live full, inclusive lives at home, at school, at work, and in the community. Their programs cover a wide range of needs, including family support, self-advocacy, grief support, and rights protection. The ARC is dedicated to making sure every Oklahoman with a developmental disability has access to the resources and opportunities they deserve. And Sooner Success helps families of children with special healthcare needs by connecting them to local health, social, and educational services. They work closely with both public and private organizations to make sure families have access to coordinated support systems right in their own communities. Their goal is to make navigating services easier so families feel supported, informed, and empowered. In addition to local supports, there are several national and online resources that provide trusted information, training, and tools for families navigating autism. Here are 4 widely used and respected organizations. Autism Navigator. The Autism Navigator is an online resource that offers video-based courses and tools for families and professionals. It's especially helpful for understanding early signs of autism and learning how to support young children in everyday routines. The Vanderbilt Kennedy Triads is the autism program at the Vanderbilt Kennedy Center. It provides research-based training, education, and resources for families, educators, and healthcare providers with a strong focus on practical strategies for support at home and in the community. Autism Internet Modules offers free, self-paced online learning about autism. Each module covers a specific topic like communication, behavior, or social skills, and is designed for families, teachers, and support teams working with individuals on the spectrum. Autism Speaks is a national organization that provides a wide range of toolkits, advocacy efforts, and resource guides. Families can use their website to find local services, learn about autism, and access step-by-step guides like the First Concern to Action Toolkit. If you have questions after today, I'm here to help. My name is Kelly Marshall with the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma, and I am the Program Officer for Children and Youth. The best way to reach me is by email at kmarshall@autismfoundationok.org. Whether you're wondering about screenings, services, or how to support a child in your care, please reach out. If I don't have the answer, I'll connect you with someone who does. Just as a reminder, I wanted to show you again the tool we've created just for you. This is Padlet, and Padlet is the online space where I've gathered all the resources from today's training and a lot more. You'll find all of the handouts, videos, links to community supports, and examples that were mentioned in the training today. This is really easy to use. You can scroll through, click on links, and save or print what's most helpful to you. One of the best ways to stay connected with the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma is through our social media. We regularly share resources, upcoming training opportunities, social events, and stories from across the state. By following us, you'll know more about what's happening and where you can find support. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just search for the Autism Foundation of Oklahoma. As we wrap up, I want to take another minute to show my gratitude for the Sarkeys Foundation for making this possible. I hope this training reminded you that you're not alone. Whether you're just beginning the journey or looking for a new way to support a child, there are people, tools, and communities here to help. We truly hope you're leaving today feeling encouraged, empowered, and supported as you move forward, one step at a time. Your work is appreciated, and your love and advocacy for children makes all the difference. Thank you for being here.